Don't be an idiot. You're not really giving me that much, you guys. I roughly counted how many series I was in the middle of the other day, and it was over 30. Now, that may be tame for some of you, but I feel like 30 is kind of excessive at this point, and I really want to do something about that. So today the goal is to tackle down 3 series that I'm in the middle of, 2 in which I want to catch up to because there's still future publications happening, and 1 I want to just complete because I actually started this series a couple months ago, and I don't know why I haven't finished the 3rd book because I've been so bloody excited to read the 3rd book that there's really no excuses at this point. So without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and start talking through my TBR with the main book, the main star of the show, if you will, this 800-page chunker that I ended up putting on my TBR from my TBR jar, and that being Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb. This is the 3rd and final book in the Lifeship Trader series, which is the 2nd trilogy in the Elderlings, or Realm of the Elderlings world by Robin Hobb. I committed the cardinal sin of skipping the 1st series because I read the 1st book, didn't really love it, but you give me talking boats and I'm kind of in there. So we are in book 3, and I have been so keen to finally finish the series and see how this book and series that I love so much will complete. We of course left off on quite a big cliffhanger in the 2nd book, so I'm excited to dive back into this world, dive back with these characters, and see what ends up happening. I just know that Robin Hobb will destroy me emotionally and probably destroy her characters emotionally as well, so I gotta buckle up for this roller coaster ride, I am sure. But regardless, I'm very excited to dive into it. Like I said, there's talking boats. I am but a big fan of boats. You give me sentient talking boats, I'm gonna be a happy gal. This, like I said, 3rd book in the Lifeship Trader series, and there's a lot of like political upheaval happening, lots of rebellion. There's dragons, there's serpents, there's talking boats. Have I mentioned that? I'm not sure. There's pirates, there's traders, there's so much happening and so much these characters are going through, and I'm sure will continue to go through as well. And it's just a thrilling tale that I really enjoy diving into. I'm really in the fantasy mood. I'm not sure what it is, but this year is just the year for high fantasy for me, and I'm so excited, like I said, to finish off this series. So this is the 800-page main goal of the vlog. Even if I finish no other books, this will be the pinnacle. Okay, this is the one. This is the one. Another book that I want to read is A Ghastly Catastrophe by Deanna Raybourn. This is the 10th book in the Veronica Speedwell series. It is a historical mystery romance as well that follows Veronica and Stoker as they tend to get themselves toiled up into some murder mystery situation, and this book is no exception. We are following Veronica and Stoker as they investigate a potential case of a vampire. I know it's going to be pretty atmospheric, and I'm typically kind of a wuss when it comes to anything mildly scary, but for me, I feel like the vibes that the Veronica Speedwell series gives is tame enough that I can manage, even in the more like tense and like spooky moments as well. And I'm excited to see what the reality behind this vampire actually is, and see what Veronica and Stoker get up to as well in their romantic life. And of course, with the theme of this vlog, that will catch me up to the final published book in the series. But I know Deanna Raybourn has plans for future Veronica Speedwell books, so this is not the end. However, it is a series I've been dying to catch up on, so I want to catch up on it. And the final book on my TBR is going to be A Parade of Horribles, which is Dungeon Crawler Carl number 9. Same situation as Veronica Speedwell. The series is incomplete, but this is a series that I really want to be caught up on, and I actually was caught up on for about a week or 2 before the 9th book came out. So this is a newer release, and I just want to be there with all of the hype and the excitement around the new book as well. And also my dad really enjoys the series. I ended up getting him into it, and he's actually been ahead of me in the series for nearly a year, and has also lapped me because he reread the series. Hopefully I can read this before him. I'm not actually holding my breath because I haven't asked him whether or not he's got around to reading the new release yet, but I think I'll wait till after I finish the book to tell him that I finally have read it. And that is the main plan for this vlog, is to catch up on some series and to finish some series. So without further ado, actually, there's a bit of ado, if you will. I have a bit of a book haul I wanted to share with you because I thought, why not? share some books that I bought with you. I don't know what triggered it exactly, but I did buy a bunch of books the other day, and they finally came in. So, well, some of them came in. There's still more to come, which is totally fine. Everything's okay. We have A Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin. This is book 3 in A Game of Thrones. Now, this is a fantasy series that has obviously been on my TBR for a very, very long time. And I flew through the second one, you guys. I'm supposed to be budding reading this with my friend Manu. And I told her, I was like, hey, do we want to have this book read by the end of June? And then I proceeded to finish the book on the 1st of June. That was an accident. So I went ahead and bought the 3rd book in preparation for probably July, if not sooner, depends on when she finishes the 2nd book. This is a series that has certainly gripped me, perhaps not from the start, but I did finally start watching the Game of Thrones TV show, and that really helped me parse out like which character was which, because getting thrown into Game of Thrones knowing nothing, it's kind of overwhelming. There's so many characters to keep track of, so many families and alliances, and who hates who, and who conquered who, and who fought who in what war, and all of the many things that come with a high fantasy, and I was a bit overwhelmed starting it, but again, I read the 1st book, watched the 1st season, binged through the 2nd book, and now I'm like halfway through the 2nd season, and it has been a delightful experience, let me tell you. So I'm so excited to have the 3rd book on my shelf, and I think there's only 5 out, which I thought there was more out, but you know what, it's fine. So this is gonna be like the halfway point, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. The other 2 books that I had bought actually are my very first Terry Pratchett books. We have Guards Guards and Mort. And I actually need y'all's help with which one of these books I should read first. I think I'll end up reading them both. Like, obviously I wouldn't have like bought them if I didn't think I was gonna read them both. Sorry, that was a dumb thing to say, you guys. But I don't know where to start Discworld. I've heard either of these is a good place to start. I put a poll up on Instagram. It was a tie. So like, you're not really giving me that much, you guys. I don't know where to start. Katie says I should just flip a coin, but I thought, YouTube audience, I would allow you to choose which of these I should read. Obviously not in this vlog, you guys. We're not starting series, we're finishing them. That's the goal, okay? So these are gonna be pushed off to the side, but I need to know, Mort or Guards Guards? Where do I start? What do I do? Let me know. And that is part of my book haul of the many books that I ended up purchasing, but there's a few more coming in, I think next week, something like that. I don't even know when they're coming in. Eventually, they'll show up on my doorstep, which is really exciting. But now, without further ado, let's get to reading. Although not today, it's gonna be a tomorrow activity, but that's fine. But we're gonna pick up Ship of Destiny, and I will see you tomorrow. Actually did get called for a trip, so in a couple of hours I will be gone for 3 days, which is perfect because it means that I have plenty more time to continue reading Ship of Destiny. I made it to page 116. I read a couple pages this morning and then a couple pages last night on my previous trip. Where I'm at in the story, 100 or so pages in, have really just been reintroductions back into the world and kind of catching up where the characters were left off, because it's been a minute since I read the first first 2 books. It's been a few months. It really hasn't been like that long, but I've read so much of Game of Thrones lately that my mind is just like locked in on those characters and those situations that, you know, I had to take a minute to reorient myself back into the Elderlings series and remind myself who was who and all these characters. At this point, I'm not super loving this book, and I think it's just because we're 3 books in the series and so much happened at the end of the last book that right now we're coming off of that high and then we're finding our equilibrium before the plot picks up again, which makes sense, but I'm still like, I really want the action to start happening like right now. And then there's a couple of POVs that I'm just not really enjoying. Cirilla being one of them. She was a character that we were introduced to last book. I don't like her. And I don't think you're supposed to like her, and I don't know what her angle is, and I don't know if she maybe is involved in like the other Elderlings books, but that plot line with Cirilla feels really convoluted to me, so I'm assuming there has to be some sort of other tie-in that I'm missing because I can't seem to bring myself to care about her at all. So that's unfortunate. The other characters I am enjoying. I just really want things to start happening in this book. There's been a few tidbits, but like I said, we're still coming down off of the high that the climax of the last book left us off. So we're climbing our way back into the action, and I'm just so keen to figure out what is going on in this book and figure out kind of where all our characters will end up, because I'm nervous, but I'm excited. And all of them have trauma. They have so much trauma that they have to work through. You know, they're gonna need some therapy after this, so can't wait to figure out, like I said, where everything ends up. And this will be the book that I will probably be making the most amount of progress on my upcoming work trip. Although I do have a 30-hour layover tomorrow, which means that I can spend some time listening to an audiobook. But speaking of audiobooks, I'm actually 88% of the way through A Ghastly Catastrophe. I listened to a majority of it yesterday. I had a little silly trip, but all that to say, I had time to listen to my audiobook. Part of my trip yesterday meant that I could listen to my audiobook because they deadheaded me up to Boston, which means that I sit as a passenger basically. So for 3 hours I was on the plane just crocheting and listening to A Ghastly Catastrophe. And like I said, I'm 88% of the way through. I have an hour 21 left, but I'm listening to it on 2x speed, so it should only be around about 45 minutes left. And it's due in 6 hours, so we are up against the wall trying to finish this book. I'm actually going to finish listening to this book right after this update. However, I'm having a blast with this one. I think this may be not quite a 5-star for me, but definitely like a high 4 for me at the moment. I've just really enjoyed the mystery and of course all the Veronica and Stoker moments. Like I said in the intro, they're investigating a vampire situation, or a situation that seems to be leaning towards a vampire. You know, pierced holes in the neck, blood is missing, that sort of thing. And it's been curious because I feel like most of the mysteries, you're trying to like suss out who it is and like who's at fault. But in this one, you kind of know everyone that's involved. They're so sus, you guys. They're so sus. He's really playing into the fact that he is a vampire and like convincing people. He's like, no, I am the vampire. Like, I don't know what you want from me. But they have to like find evidence and proof of what actually is going on, because Stoker's like, there's no such thing as vampires. And Veronica's like, well, Stoker, you may be wrong. And I love their constant banter. I love the fact that Veronica and Stoker are so grounded in logic, and yet Veronica will be like, no, like there are some things that we don't have explanations for, so this could be one of them. And Stoker's like, Veronica, don't be an idiot. Like, use your logical scientific brain. And she's like, I am using my logical scientific brain, and this is what I think, until proven otherwise. And it's just been a lot of fun with their banter. We also got introduced to Lady Julia. I forget her husband's name, but Lady Julia is from the Lady Trent series, which is Deanna Raybourn's other series. I haven't picked it up yet, but it was so funny, and I love this sort of trope. I can't remember what TV show I'm thinking of where this trope also had happened. I want to say it was Young and Hungry, but I could be so wrong, where they meet people that are like identical to themselves and they get on so well like right away, and then the other person is like, you do realize you're like the same person? Like, what? Veronica and Julia are so similar, and I was cracking up at all of their banter. And I love a good crossover. I'm a big fan of Ranger's Apprentice, and there's like a whole universe in Ranger's Apprentice with the main series and the companion and the spin-off and the prequels. So I love a good crossover. So when I was listening to the audiobook, I was like, okay, is this Lady Julia who I think she is? And I texted Katie, I was like, is this who I'm thinking of? And it was confirmed that it was in fact from the Lady Trent series. So after finishing this book, maybe I will have to get my hands and start a new series. But honestly, in this vlog, we are finishing series. That is the goal. So not in this vlog, you guys, not in this vlog. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go work my flight. Well, I'm actually gonna finish listening to the audiobook of A Ghastly Catastrophe. Then I'm gonna work my flight, probably read more of this, and then I will see if I get up to doing anything in, where am I going? Connecticut? Massachusetts? I'm going somewhere up north, but we'll see. I always like to like peruse and see if there's like a cute coffee shop or a cute bookstore that's in like walking distance. So I will figure that out once I get to the hotel, but that's tomorrow's problem. But I'm going to prioritize finishing this audiobook before it returns in 6 hours, and then I will catch up with you after my work trip. I wanted character development, but I didn't want it through traumatizing all the characters and me, but that's kind of where we're at. You'll be happy to know that I did finish A Ghastly Catastrophe before my hold was up, so stellar stuff. I really enjoyed this one, actually. I gave it a 4.75. It wasn't like my absolute favorite in all the Veronica Speedwell series, but it's definitely top 3, so good news on that. Yeah, I had a good time. Like I said, I only had like an hour and a half-ish left in the audiobook, so it was just wrapping up the mystery, you know. The villain monologues for like pages at a time, Veronica listens, and that's kind of how things wrapped up. I'm very excited for the next one though. I just love a good Veronica mystery, and I was invested not only in like the mystery aspect of it, but of course like, you know, Stoker and Veronica and how things are going with them. And the lead up for the 11th book, they're actually going on an expedition together, which is going to be really exciting. I love a little bit of a traveling moment, so they'll be able to leave England, and I'm really keen to see kind of where they end up. But as for Ship of Destiny, I am on chapter 36, which is page 756, so I have just under 100 pages left until I finish this book. And guys, I'm not loving it, which is making me really sad, if we're being so honest. All the characters that I liked have made really stupid decisions, and now I despise them, actually, which is really unfortunate. I just felt like we got so much depth and layers to these characters for them to just like ruin it all by being stupid. And like, I understand it's kind of covering the cycle of abuse where whoever is abused then in turn becomes an abuser. And like, I understand that. It just is so frustrating. And I'm not saying like that's the point where I stopped liking this book by any means. Obviously, like, these are very important topics to be discussed and important plot moments to be had. And it was very, very telling about like how certain people reacted. I was not expecting that though. Reading it last night, I was literally like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. But all of that aside, I just feel like this book was so boring compared to the other ones. Like, yes, things were happening, but I just found them way less exciting. I never thought that I would say it, but once dragons got involved, my enjoyment for the series kind of tapered off. What happened? What happened? I thought the dragons would bring me so much more joy. And instead, I feel like once they were introduced, things just got a little bit more messy for me to enjoy. There's a lot of political things going on, which typically I enjoy, and I don't know why this book is just missing the mark for me. And I don't think in the last 100 or so pages things are going to improve. Not only because some characters that I really wanted to have their comeuppance did not get a very satisfying comeuppance. Oh my gosh, one character, the like entire first book, you just hate them so much and you want them to have such a satisfying ending. And then the ending that they got was not satisfying in the slightest. So minor peeves like that. But overall, there's not really been any standout moments where I've really like loved this book. Although Malta, she's grown on me. I never thought we would see the light of day. But again, did I want character development? Yes. Did I want character development through trauma? Not necessarily. That's kind of what we got from most of our characters. I just don't know that this is going to wrap up in a satisfying way. Because like I said, we have like 100 pages left. And so much has happened. Some of it satisfying. Actually, has any of it really been satisfying? Most of it unsatisfying, if we're gonna be honest. Ugh. I don't know, guys. I'm just so bummed. I thought I would like really, really love this book, and it was the finale of this series, you know. I'm going to finish it. We'll see kind of what I feel, my thoughts, my opinions. Maybe things will turn out all for the better at the end. And I don't even like need these characters to have some sort of like happily ever after. I just want some sort of solid ending and conclusion and tie everything up in a nice bow. That's honestly all I really want. And it doesn't even feel like I'm gonna get that. I don't know if the problem necessarily has to do with the fact that, again, this is part of like bigger world, right? The Elderlings, all of the things. So they're setting up and they're talking a lot about that, which, mind you, does make me very excited to revisit Assassin's Apprentice and learn about Fitz and read that story. I didn't think that this would motivate me to want to go back and read that trilogy, but I think I'm going to fully dive into Robin Hobb and her Elderling series. I think gotta go full in, especially because I know there's a series that follows the Rainwild characters, or at least most of the series maybe takes place there, and I'm really curious to see more of them in play. I find their characters very, very interesting, and we've like slowly dived into their characters and kind of how their town works and how the people work and everything, especially with the dragons tying in and coming back. I just loved the first two books so much, and I was really hoping for a satisfying conclusion, and I just don't think I'm gonna get that. But I will be picking up other Robin Hobb books and diving properly into all of the separate trilogies and quartets that there are. Like I said, that's it. That's my thoughts. I don't love harking on books too much. There's been good moments in this book, however, nothing too standoutish. So I am going to go ahead, finish this up, but I did want to listen to Carl. I wanted to start Carl number 8, number 9. I always forget which one I'm on. 8? We're gonna say 8. Carl number 8, Doomsday. Nope, that's, what the freak is it called? Carl, the Parade of Horribles. There it is. I want to start listening to the audiobook for that one. It's about 20 hours. I listened to it about 1.5 because I love Jeff Hayes as a narrator, so I don't love double speed on those books, so it's gonna take me a little bit, but I need to go pick up some yarn because I ran out of yarn for my granny square blanket, and I want to continue to do some crocheting. Probably will do some late night crocheting, if we're being honest, because I have a few other bits and bobs I still need to do before I get to sit down and relax. So I'm gonna go grab some yarn, and I'll probably finish this book at some point as well. But I'll just come back with you when I have a little bit of an update. today is actually the last day of this vlog, and is actually the last update I'm going to have for this vlog, and things didn't quite go how I wanted to. I got called for a work trip this weekend, and let me just actually give you the rundown of what they had me work these past 3 days, just to give you a glimpse into my life right now. Okay, so I went on call at 2 in the morning, and I was on home reserve, which means I have a 12-hour block, so from 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. they can call me anytime, and then I have to report to the airport 2 hours later. Mind you, they're only supposed to call me 2 hours in advance as to not interrupt my rest. They call me at 3 in the morning for a 6 a.m. report time, so they're already calling me early, which is so rude. So I basically am like, cool, and then I go back to bed until I have to wake up to get ready. From 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. I work Orlando to San Juan to Jacksonville, layover in Jacksonville. We are done duty around 3 p.m. The next day, we have to report at 5:15 in the morning. And mind you, our report time doesn't include the extra time it takes for us to actually get to the airport. So when we have a report time of 5:15, our van time, I think, was like 4:45, 4:50, something like that, because we still have to get to the airport and make it to the gate by 5:15, okay? There we go. So from 5:15 to 2 p.m., we're working Jacksonville to JFK, JFK to San Juan. We layover in San Juan. From 2 p.m. until 1:30 in the morning when our report time is. Our van time this morning was 1 a.m. We worked the flight from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. What do you mean I had an entire workday that ended at 5 a.m.? And mind you, 5 a.m. is when these past 2 shifts were starting. So they literally had us working a red eye on the last day. I was so mad. I'm like, when am I supposed to sleep? You want me to sleep all day basically and then wake up to work the singular flight when I've had to sleep through the night these past 2. Anyways, I could go on a rant about that entire pairing, but all that to say, the reading that I had hoped to get done did not get done. Honestly, the only book that I did not complete that I wanted to was Dungeon Crawler Carl, but I still made substantial progress into it, and I'll talk about that in a second, because part of the reason I actually didn't make it further into DCC than I wanted to, because my granny square crochet project that I've been toiling over these past few weeks, few months, what have you, has grinded straight to a halt because the yarn that I'm using, 2 out of the 3 colors are being discontinued. Or like they've already been discontinued and they are no longer in stock anywhere. So that's really tragic. So I was doing my audiobook crocheting combo, which is really nice, and that came to an end basically. And it put me in a little bit of a foul mood, I'm not gonna lie. I never thought I'd be this upset and annoyed over yarn, but you know, I'm halfway through my granny square project, and I guess we're going for a little tiny throw blanket instead of like a big blanket. We'll see. Honestly, we'll burn that bridge when I get there eventually, but I don't think I'm going to return to that anytime soon, because I was only able to pick up 2 out of the 3 colors that I needed the other day, and then I was like calling out the stores in my area being like, do you have this, do you have this, do you have this, and they're like, no we do not. So really tragic. But let's actually talk about some books. So like I said, Parade of Horribles, I've been really enjoying. I am on chapter 29 with 98 chapters total. So listening on 1.5 speed, I have 9 hours and 40 minutes left. And I really, like I said, I'm really enjoying this book. We jump straight into the action, and I ate it up so much. I've enjoyed pretty much all of the Carl books, but some obviously hold more enjoyment for me than others. Book 6 has been my least favorite so far because I didn't find like the level and the floor that they were on to be interesting. And with that, I realized that how the level is designed really lends into my enjoyment, because if I don't find the level interesting, I'm not gonna be having a good time. Now, this one actually is a race, so they have all these like cars and they have to like race each other, and whoever loses, like, and there's a bunch of different rounds, and I'm just really excited to see how things ramp up, because obviously the stakes start off fairly low with how things are going. They're actually competing against NPCs, so the threat of like other crawlers. But as the rounds go by, more and more of these NPCs are dying, thus then crawlers are competing against crawlers, and that's a whole situation. So very action-packed. Literally, they got dumped on the floor. They're like, you have like 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, something like that, to pick a vehicle and then be underway, and we'll explain the rules eventually. And it was just like, they were off. It honestly reminded me so much of the scene in Ready Player One where they're all like racing and there's like the big Godzilla and all these obstacles and whatever. Like that is kind of what I was like picturing as I was reading like the intro of the book, because literally they get dropped off and they're like, pick a vehicle, and then they're off. So that action and like the chaos really reminded me of Ready Player One. So that was really fun to read about, and like I said, I'm really keen to read more into it. I really wanted to finish it for this vlog to give you all of my thoughts, but like I said, did not happen. However, I did finish Ship of Destiny, which was the final book in the LifeShip Trader series, and I did not like it, you guys. I did not enjoy it hardly at all. I actually ended up giving it a 2.5, which is honestly crazy because I basically 5-starred the other two, but there was so much in this book that frustrated me to no end. I felt like most of the conclusions we got for our characters, I did not like. I don't know how I ended up enjoying Malta's POV more than Althea's POV. How did that happen? I feel like Althea really got shoved to the sideline in this book, and it really just made me so frustrated how her ending was, because she goes on this entire journey, the last 2 books, to reclaim something that she thought was hers and all of this, and at the pinnacle moment, it's like she just forgets all of her goals and ambitions, and it feels like Robin Hobb really lost the threads of like how she was as a character and who she was as a character, because all the decisions many of these characters were making, if we're being quite honest, were totally outside the realm of what you would believe that they would make, like decision-wise. Characters were saying things or doing things that felt so antithesis to the characters we've learned over these past 2 books that I was like, am I still reading the same novel that everyone else has read in this series? Because I am so not enjoying this book in the slightest. I didn't enjoy the time with the characters because, again, they felt so different. I didn't enjoy any of like the climax. I just found it kind of boring, if we're being honest, and it felt like it was setting up just to lead into the next books, and I don't know how much of LifeShip is relevant to like the rest of the Elderlings. I skipped the first trilogy, which I will go back to eventually, but I just wanted to dive straight into the LifeShip. So maybe I would enjoy it more if I had more context from the first series, like maybe that was the problem. But a lot of people said that they loved the LifeShip Trader series and didn't need the other context outside of having like not read Assassin's Apprentice and all of those other trilogies. But at least the series I have read and complete, because if I sat on this for like over a year or more being really excited to finally know what happens, and then I read this, I think the disappointment would have hit me even harder. Disappointing. Please, if you read this, let me know your thoughts. I need to know if I'm not crazy, because the amount of 5-star reviews on all of the book review sites are actually astounding, where I was like questioning my sanity, where I'm like, maybe I got an odd copy, you know, maybe the things in this book that happened weren't, you know, what everyone was reading about. But they also ruined the main villain by having him do such a heinous act and yet still allowing him to be a hero. What do you mean? What do you mean? And side characters that I just feel like we didn't really care about in the first couple of books became really, really important and really prevalent, which was fine. But again, I'm like, what about Alethea, who literally started this entire journey, and like we've been there almost every step of the way of her growth, only for it to literally plummet. Basically for a man, you guys. Basically for a man. And oh, but guys, no, don't worry, the man got the happy ending, got everything he wanted, got the girl, got all of the things. And what did Alethea get? A man. Be so for real, Robin Hobb. Don't piss me off like that. Anyways, so dissatisfying end to the book, and kind of a dissatisfying end and the fact that this was the last book that I ended up finishing for this vlog. However, today is Monday. The vlog was supposed to go out today, but I got home at, you know, 6 in the morning and I went to bed. Even though I slept yesterday, I was still so tired, you guys, so tired. So I'm finishing off the vlog today without finishing Parade of Horribles, but I will slowly be working through that book as I do some other things, perhaps. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up, trying to think of the other books that I read in this vlog. This vlog went on longer than it meant to be, but that's fine. Things happen, you know? A Ghastly Catastrophe, what did I give it, like a 4.75? One of my top 3, I think, in the Veronica Speedwell series. Always enjoy a fun time with Veronica and Stoker, and I cannot wait for the next book to come out, especially because I'm like caught up with the series. So being caught up and being able to like read it with everybody else really excited about it as well, especially with Katie, my best friend who's like obsessed with the series, I'm so happy that I'll finally be on top of the hype and be there for the hype. Did I only manage to read 2 books in this vlog? Yes. However, I'm really proud of myself for getting this off of my TBR because it is a very, very long book, first of all, and I have 3 long books on my TBR this month. And not to brag or anything, you guys, but 2 out of the 3 I've read now, because Ship of Destiny was one of them. A Clash of Kings, book 2 in the Game of Thrones series, I read at the beginning of the month. And up and coming, you guys, I'm gonna be reading Lord of the Rings finally, so keep an eye out for my next vlog, because fingers crossed my next vlog should be my Lord of the Rings vlog, which has been years coming, you guys. This should have been something that I did years ago, but this is the year, this is the month, and even though I didn't complete as many series as I wanted to in this vlog, you know what? We are finished with one and caught up with another, and I feel like this momentum will hopefully carry me forward as I then start a new series, with that being Lord of the Rings. But hopefully I can continue to tackle my TBR and finish some series that I'm just like sat in the middle of. I don't know, maybe the Stormlight Archives could be next. We got a few more in that one that I need to finish. Once again, let me know if you've read Ship of Destiny, if you also don't like it, or maybe you do like it, and tell me why. I'm really keen to hear from you guys. Let me know what you've been reading, what you've been up to, and thank you so much for watching, of course, and I do really hope to see you in my next one. Toodles!